In today's video, we're breaking down two big NFL matchups set for Monday, October 13, 2025. And as always, we're coming through with both team and total picks for each game, giving you 4 solid angles to help you plan your bets with confidence. Welcome back to Beyond the Box Score. If you love breaking down games, analyzing matchups, and staying ahead of the odds, make sure you're subscribed and have those notifications turned on, because we do this every single day. Let's get into it. We start down south, where the Buffalo Bills head into Atlanta to take on the Falcons in a Week 6 interconference. One carries real intrigue, not just for the fans, but for the bettors, too. Buffalo is coming off a 23-20 home loss to New England, a game that stunned many considering the Bills were favored by 8. That setback snapped their rhythm and, if anything, gives them a chip on their shoulder heading into this matchup. Meanwhile, Atlanta comes in fresh off a bye week, having last played on September 28 when they took down Washington 34-27 at home and covered as 2.5-point favorites. Historically, the Falcons hold a narrow edge in the all-time series, 7-6 in regular season meetings. But Buffalo has dominated the more recent matchups, winning the last 2, including the 29-15 victory back on January 2, 2022. That last meeting was a 14-point win for Buffalo, and while it's been a few seasons, it's a reminder of how these teams have matched up when the Bills are dialed in. With last week's loss still stinging, there's no question Buffalo is entering this one determined to right the ship. Now, there is a little uncertainty with tight end Dalton Kincaid listed as questionable, but Josh Allen still has no shortage of weapons. His legs remain one of his most underrated assets, and that ability to extend plays could be the key difference maker. Allen's mobility will force the Falcons' secondary to defend more space and more chaos, opening up opportunities for both the Bills' receivers and their ground game. And after the loss to the Patriots, expect Buffalo's defense to take this game personally. That unit should come out sharper, more aggressive, and ready to remind everyone why it's still one of the league's better defensive groups. Atlanta's bye week might give them rest, but it also risks killing momentum. They were just starting to click offensively against Washington, and sometimes that rhythm doesn't immediately carry over after a break. Meanwhile, Buffalo's defense is still smarting from that narrow loss, and this feels like the kind of game where they reassert control. The last 2 meetings between these teams, Buffalo's won by an average of 10.5 points. Small sample, yes, but telling. That New England loss, as ugly as it was, still came down to a last-second 52-yard field goal. Even in a flat performance, the Bills were right there. The Falcons, for all their fresh legs, still carry injury concerns into this one, and while their pass defense has looked strong recently, it's important to note who they've been facing. J.J. McCarthy, Bryce Young, Marcus Mariota, not exactly elite arms. Josh Allen is a different beast altogether. His improvisation, his arm strength, his command of the offense, that's a whole new test for Atlanta's secondary. Sean McDermott said post-game last week that Buffalo tried to get a little too cute, offensively, and that's telling. Expect a simpler, sharper, and more efficient game plan this time around. The Bills are still one of the NFL's top offensive units, scoring 30 or more points in 4 of their first 5 games. Atlanta sits at 2-2 and, while they've shown flashes, including the win over Washington, they nearly blew that. Led against a backup quarterback. Drake London, Calvin Ridley, and Bijan Robinson give them weapons, sure, but it's hard to imagine that offense keeping up with Buffalo for 4 quarters. Even factoring in Atlanta's rest advantage, this feels like a classic bounce-back spot for Buffalo. The Bills haven't faced a top-tier passing threat since Baker Mayfield in Week 1, and now, they're about to show why they remain one of the league's most dangerous teams when focused. Based on the matchup and motivation, we're rolling with the Buffalo Bills to win and cover the spread as favorites for our full game side pick. As for the total, Buffalo's games have leaned slightly toward the over this season, sitting at 3-2 on totals through 5 games. The only time their offense didn't hit 30 points was last week's loss. Meanwhile, Atlanta's contests have gone under in 3 of their 4 outings, though the one that went over was that 34-27 shootout against Washington. The Falcons have quietly been one of the best rushing teams in the NFL lately. After struggling early against Tampa Bay's elite run defense, they exploded for 218 rushing yards against Minnesota, then followed it up with 131 against Carolina and 128 on Washington. That's top 6 in the league in rush play usage, and it could matter a lot here. Buffalo's run defense has shown cracks, giving up 146.6 rushing yards per game. That means Atlanta can probably move the ball, especially if they stick to the ground game and open things up for Michael Penix Jr., who's still finding his footing, just his 7th career start coming up. Play action could be his best friend, and it's been working well for them when the run game clicks. Defensively, the Falcons look improved but not impenetrable. They've allowed 21.5 points per game, which is fine, but the red zone remains their Achilles heel. They're giving up touchdowns on 66.7% of trips inside the 20. And here comes Josh Allen, looking for a statement game. His passing totals the past 4 weeks, 148, 213, 209, and 253 yards, have been serviceable but not explosive. Inside a dome and coming off a tough loss. This feels like the spot for a breakout. Buffalo's scoring consistency and Atlanta's ability to do just enough offensively make this one feel primed for points. We're taking the over the projected total as our full game total pick for Bills Falcons. Now let's move to Maryland, where the Chicago Bears travel east to face the Washington Commanders at Northwest Stadium in Prince George's County. Chicago enters Week 6 at 2-2, sitting 4th in the NFC North, while Washington is 3-2 and holding down 2nd place in the NFC East. Last season, Washington shocked the Bears in a thriller. Jaden Daniels connected with Noah Brown on a last-second Hail Mary, a play that became infamous after Tyreek Stevenson's taunt left him flat-footed at the snap. That moment spiraled the Bears into a collapse, turning a 3-game win streak into a 10-game slide that ultimately triggered a full coaching overhaul. Fast forward to this season, and Washington's Week 5 performance might have been the most impressive in the league. Down 10-0 early to the Chargers, they roared back behind Daniels, who reminded everyone why he was the spark of their NFC Championship run last year. He finished with 270 total yards, a touchdown, and 0 turnovers, all while wearing a knee brace after missing 2 games with a sprain. The defense backed him up too, blanking the Chargers for the final 3 quarters and holding them to just 18 first downs and 5.2 yards per play. That kind of win can reignite a locker room. Chicago, meanwhile, is coming off a bye, which might have come at the perfect time. Caleb Williams has been composed, throwing 8 touchdowns against 2 interceptions, and the Bears' offense is finding rhythm. But defensively, it's still a major concern. They're giving up 29.3 points per game, ranking near the bottom of the league, and they've allowed more explosive plays than anyone. Their pass rush is nearly non-existent, just 27th in sack rate, and that's dangerous against a quarterback like Daniels, who thrives when given time to operate. Washington's been inconsistent, alternating wins and losses through 5 games, but last week's victory showed how potent they can be when everything clicks. The Bears might be scrappy, but Washington's physicality and balance look like too much for them here. That's why our first pick for this matchup is the Washington Commanders to win and cover the spread as favorites. Now for the total. Washington has scored 134 points through 5 games, 8th best in the league, and that's despite facing solid defenses in the Giants, Packers, Chargers, and Falcons. They also might have found a hidden gem in rookie Jacare Kroski-Merritt, who rushed for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns on just 14 carries last week. With Terry McLaurin likely back in the mix, the Commanders' offense should hum again. Chicago's offense, on the other hand, has been better than expected, but the defense gives up too many big plays to trust in a low-scoring game. Washington's defense is allowing 20.2 points per game. Solid, ranking 9th. but they still give up 352 yards per game, which ranks 24th. That combination of offensive efficiency and yardage surrender sets up a sneaky over spot. Ben Johnson's game planning should keep Chicago in it long enough to push scoring. And while there's light rain expected with gusts around 17 miles per hour, those conditions aren't serious enough to derail offensive flow. Washington was 5-3 to the over as home favorites last year, and the Bears have gone 5-2 to the over in their last 7 meetings with Washington. Add it up, and this one feels like another total that climbs past the number. So, our second pick for this game, over the projected total, is our full game total pick. That's all for today's slate. If you're enjoying these breakdowns and want more matchups covered daily, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Beyond the Box Score, and drop a comment below letting us know which games you want analyzed next. Whether you agree or disagree with these picks, I want to hear your thoughts. We'll be back soon with more NFL breakdowns, best bets, and data-driven insight, right here, where the numbers always tell the story.